there are certain fields in which you really get to see somebody's core personality. And you get to see their kind of core attributes and their core virtues and their core vices and their core weaknesses. And it's really only people under situations of extreme stress where you really see that. And so so part of it is like we see that we see people when they're at their most stressed and when they're at their worst. And then then there are I would say many cases where we're one of their only remaining allies kind of at that point. So that's a not uncommon thing. But I also say the other thing you see is just like, there are very specific personality types. I'll just give you an example. Mark Zuckerberg, a great superpower that Mark Zuckerberg has that probably is not well understood enough, which is he does not get emotionally upset in stressful situations. He is able to maintain an analytical frame of mind, even when other people would be, literally bursting into tears and hiding under the table. And I've seen that many, many times. I've been involved almost for 20 years. And, we've been through almost everything good and bad. And I've literally not once seen him raise his voice. And he's very sympathetic, and he's very, when somebody has a personal crisis, it's not that he's not emotional. Like he engages emotionally with people, and he's very supportive of people when they have issues, and he feels things very deeply, like everybody does. But he has a level of emotional self-control. Psychologists would say 0% neuroticism. He just doesn't respond emotionally, and as a consequence, he can keep his head right when everybody around him is losing theirs. And so you've got that. Having said that, we also work with a lot of people who are, let's say, higher in neuroticism, and in particular, people who are super creative are often high in neuroticism. And so sometimes you get we get the artist type, where they're like incredibly creative and they're a fountain of new ideas, and they just have a much more, let's say, direct engagement with their emotions, and they feel things, I would say, more directly or kind of in a more raw way. And so, when things go bad, it really comes down to them emotionally. I was frankly myself probably more on that side of things. The good news, I would say, is I think most problems in business are fixable as long as you can keep the team together. I think usually when companies crack and go down, it's usually not, sometimes it's catalyzed by something that happened from the outside, but generally the thing that actually happens before a company goes down is the team cracks, the team itself cracks internally, and the founders turn on each other, or the management team dissolves. And so a big part of it is just with these things is just like, can you keep the team together? If you can keep the team together, then, most of these companies can battle through most things. I've seen, just as many like incredible last minute saves and rescues and turnarounds as I have, screaming disasters. So there is reason for optimism going into even the dark times.